Good afternoon. I'm going to get two videos today because I didn't get to one yesterday. So the last video was yesterday's. This video is today's. And the question is, should we be banning public prayers or religion in schools? And we've established my opinion on banning, right? So this is one where very cautiously I'm going to say no, we shouldn't. And people will be like, oh, but we should. There is no place in our schools for religion. And if you get onto Facebook or any public forum, you're going to see there's actually a lot of room. There's a big need to address religion and prayer in school. Now, I'm going to preface that, or add to this a little bit. I don't believe in forced religion, right? So I don't believe that we should take all the kids into the school gymnasium and force them to participate in a Christian service or a Muslim service or a Buddhist service or a Sikh service or a Wiccan service. I think those should be optional. If the school has students of a particular faith that want to get together and pray or study the Bible, all the power to them. But I don't think it should be forced. Now, we're talking about religious ceremony here, okay? Having an evangelist come into the school to preach hellfire, damnation, get saved. I disagree with that, right? I will disagree with that, and I'm a person of the Christian faith. But if Christians are in the school and they want to set up room 12B for a prayer meeting on Wednesdays at lunchtime, and it's voluntary, there's no coercion, all the power to you, right? You start evangelizing, then we're going to, I think we may be able to draw the line there. That's something that if you're a particular religion and you want to share your faith with somebody, or somebody comes to you and says, I know that you belong to this faith group, tell me more, I think that should be optional. It's not an educational requirement. Can be done at the restaurant across the street, could be done at the cafeteria, just one-on-one chatting. That's a total different topic. Personal, one-on-one, friend to friend, having a chat. It's like me and my buddy Larry having a chat about faith or politics or whatever. I'm not there to make him believe what I believe, just sharing what I believe, and I'm hearing what he believes. And I think that's a conversation. Or whoever, just making that name. I have a friend Larry, a couple of friends Larry, hopefully they don't get upset that I use their name. And that's now, that said, we've all seen tragic events, and people hold prayer vigils. Maybe somebody's in a sports competition. We have the rallies, and sometimes there's a prayer that's involved in those things, or a sign of an act of faith. Okay, for example, right? We put the teddy bears, we light the candles. Those are spiritual things. Lighting candles is a spiritual activity. The community chaplain or the local pastor offering prayer, I think, is sometimes therapeutic in certain situations. Or when we have a victory, we thank God. I think those are, I'm trying to think of the word, because it might offend some people, but it's non-intrusive, maybe is the better word, right? You can participate, close your eyes, say your own thing, do your own thing, make internal jokes about the person that's doing the praying, whatever. We wouldn't say we're going to ban that because it offends somebody. We still have a bit of courtesy and discernment. I think is a thing. So I'm not a person who would say that we should outright ban public prayer, right? The Bible does ban it, right? You want to get technical and scriptural Christians, the Bible does ban praying in public, right? Preaching on the street corners, all of that stuff that you guys think is biblical, probably not, right? But as a society, I don't think we should get into that habit of telling people, I don't want prayer in the school. I don't want to learn about or hear about or be preached to. And I agree that we shouldn't be doing the preaching to or preaching over. But I do believe that sometimes we can do things that unite the community, saying a quick word of prayer when a tragedy happens, or a quick word of prayer when something good happens. We do it. Right? I don't think those should be banned. I do think there should be some very strong regulating, I guess is the word, to ensure that people aren't getting preached to or discriminated against or verbally harmed because they have a difference of a view of a religious belief. And that's not just the Christians that need to be taught this, right? It's people that don't believe in God. You can't harm me because I have a faith. I can't harm you because you have a different view, right? Even amongst the faith, when I say to people, I have a conviction that this is on this topic, and this is what my conviction is, I've been called a heretic. And I don't believe you should be allowed to do that in the school. But I do believe that if you have a faith and you want to get together and pray, or get together and study religious text, all the power to you. It's when you start forcing the idea of conversion onto people, or using your religious beliefs to harm others, we got a problem there. And that, I will agree, that should not be allowed in public, in schools. Oh, what was the other one I was going to say? I should have wrote it down. I just had an ADHD moment. Sometimes that'll happen. Quite often I'll forget to write something down. I hate writing things down in a script, because if I read everything off that I want to say, it just sounds like I'm talking like this. I sound like Ernie, like the Ford, Premier Ford, right? Or Donald Trump, or Ernie Ford, or Mike Harris. There's no life. We write up and down our sentences just a little bit to give some sentence structure, right? But so I don't banning prayer, public prayer, and religion. But okay, that's what I was going to talk about. So the other concept is that sometimes people will say you shouldn't talk about religion in school, right? That's the parents' job. Parents don't always get it right. If I had kids, I could not go in and talk about the Muslim faith or the Sikh faith or Wiccan faith beliefs, because I don't always know about them. I know about mine and my convictions. I don't even know about every denomination or sect within the Christian or faith, right? So I think there should be some non-conversion introduction to the different various faiths that people may encounter, common faiths that people may encounter, right? In my hometown, I don't think there would be anything wrong with having a discussion on Roman Catholicism, the United Church, Protestant is too broad, but Pentecostalism, Presbyterianism, Baptist, what's this Baptist versus that Baptist. We have the Sikh community, we have the Hindu community, Muslim community, Amish, we have all these different communities. I don't think there's a problem in highlighting them for an educational purposes, not to introduce people for conversion, but open up their eyes of what's around them. I used to be a scout leader. Might scare some people thinking that I was that. And I can remember helping one of the groups with some of the kids that weren't connected with a local church to get their religion and life. And that was one of my things. This is all of the different religious faiths or church groups in our community. Let's learn about them. It's not to convert you to any particular faith, but it allows you to know what is communion, what is first communion, what is baptism and first baptism, and good works and bad works and all of those kind of things. Wasn't to convert people to Christianity. I don't think I ever converted anybody to Christianity through that program. The kids that were in that ID went through that. Did get a couple of them got to religion and life, and they got a kind of a peek through the window, if you will. And I do think we need to do that in our schools. Same with political, right? What do different political perspectives look like? And I don't think should be done to promote a particular brand of politics or a particular brand of religion, but it opens up the ideology of, or the idea of why we're different, of why they are different, how they are different, the pros and the cons, the good, the bad, the pretty and the ugly. And I believe that if other people had just a basic foundational understanding what happens on the other side of that window, I believe a lot of people's fears could be eliminated, or maybe even backed up. Right? There are some things in religion that are concerning, and I'm not going to deny that. But to say that we should ban it outright because we don't agree with it, or we don't believe it, or we don't like it, I think that's a very slippery slope. We need to try to get away from that concept of banning things. That was what the earlier video was about. I think it needs to be regulated so that it's safe for people to ask questions, right? Bring in the spiritual leaders of those different faiths and have hard questions, right? When I ran for politics, the Catholic school in my neighborhood invited me in, not just me, but all the candidates. And let me tell you, those kids, they brought my nose to the grindstone and they asked some pretty tough questions. And I think it wasn't, I didn't go in to try to convince them to become libertarian. I convinced them talked about my opinion on stuff, and they questioned. They questioned the vote split. They questioned my views on letting private entities run healthcare and all of those kind of things. So they can ask pretty tough questions. A good faith leader should be able to come in and say, this is why we do that, or this is why we don't. I remember when the big thing about head coverings was coming out, and people were all upset because Muslims were defending, and the Muslim leaders like, this is not necessarily what we teach. That's what this sect over here teaches. We don't necessarily subscribe to that anymore, right? But this is why, and this is why, and I think it can either squash people's concerns, maybe even validate them a little bit. Is it anything wrong with this faith leader saying, you know what, we're wrong on some things, and as a society, this is where we stand? I don't think that's wrong, because it happens even on the other side of the fence, when they become uneducated or uneducatable, then rocks get thrown, and both parties, they throw rocks. Both sides of the fence are throwing rocks at each other, and we need to try to find ways to, okay, let's take a look at this. But I don't think we need to ban religion. I think we need to regulate its introduction to a point so that it's not conversion Don't believe in conversion in the public school or even the private school. I believe that's a personal thing between that person and God, or that person and other people, without force. But in this public school system, I believe we should be allowed to have prayer. I believe we should allow space for it. I don't believe it should be obligatory. And I don't believe that it should be conversion based. Right? So we're not bringing in the evangelist, as I said, to preach hellfire damnation. Everybody gets saved. Right? We're not forcing people to accept a religion. We're just opening up the window so that people can look in and see that and be comforted by spirituality. Right? I'd much rather people pray in public in a way that I can understand, and as long as they let me do the same. Right? Can't segregate. It has to be voluntary. Cannot be harmful. And that's my rant. So do I believe banning prayer or religion in public schools is the way to go? No. But I do think it needs to be considered as a topic for discussion and introduction. And that's it. Right? No indoctrination. No forcing religion onto people just for the sake of saving people and getting them converted to whatever faith is of the predominant community. Thank you very much. That's my rant. If you like the channel, like the topics, hit the like button. Want to get notified when I produce more content, hit the subscribe button. And if you want to make a donation to help me pay my rent and buy my groceries, make a donation. Thank you very much. The donation link will be in the channel description. That seems to be, I'm not able to, for some reason, make the connection in the description of this video. Alright, thank you. Bye-bye. Take care.